Hey everyone, in today's tutorial we're going to learn how to make a David Austin rose using some sugar paste. So first I've got a polystyrene ball and I've chopped it in half, so I will put the link to the size that was used in the bottom of the description box. And I've just used a hot knife just to cut that in half, and now I'm just rolling out some modelling paste and we're just going to stick that on top of the polystyrene so that the rose has got something to stick to once we start sticking it on. So I'm just wetting it with a little bit of water, and then I'm just going to push it into place. Now it doesn't matter about any lumps or bumps that are going to be there because you're not going to see those anyway once all the petals are on. Now you don't need to leave this to dry. I literally covered the ball and started working straight away. These are quite simple roses to do actually. It looks quite complex, but they're quite easy to do. So once you've covered your styrofoam ball, if you just set that to one side, I put mine in a dummy, and then we're going to take the colour that we're wanting to use for the rose. Now what I did was I actually did the two inner petals a darker pink, and then I went to a bit of a lighter pink as I went onto the outer petals, so we got kind of an ombre look. I didn't do too much difference in the colours, but it still did give a nice effect. So all I've got here is I've got my rose cutters, and I've used the largest of the set of 5 and the smallest of the set of 3. And all we're going to do is we're going to cut out 16 of each size. So I've got 16 of the smaller ones, and then I'm going to cut 16 of the larger ones. And we're just going to use our balling tool to thin the edges and thin the tops. So when I'm thinning the tops, I'm going across side to side rather than going all the way around, because we want that side to be quite flat. It doesn't need to be too neat when you're doing this, but the edges do need to be quite thin, and your petal paste needs to be rolled quite thinly as well. So once you've got your 16 in the smaller size, we're going to add some white to the pink that we already had, and then we're going to roll that out, and we're going to cut out 16 of the larger size as well. Now you can have a look at any kind of David Austin rose and go with whatever colour you wanted to do. This colour just sat really nicely with the design that I wanted to do. It's literally just a bit of baby pink that is in the paste, and then I'm just adding white to it as we go. So be careful when you're rolling out your paste, because sometimes you can still leave it a little bit bulky in the middle, and we want it to be quite thin. So just keep working it until you can almost see through the board, see through to the board, and then we're going to use our cutter to cut 16 of the larger petal. So once you've cut your 16, we're going to do the same as we did before, where we're going to work out the top in a straight line and still thin the edges. Now, compared to making a normal English rose, this is quite a simple rose to make. It's quite quick, and it's really, really effective as well. So it's really good to use on all sorts of wedding cakes or even birthday cakes, and it looks quite good. So all I'm doing is I've taken 2 of the smaller petals and 2 of the larger petals and put them together, and I'm just using a little bit of water to stick them in. The bit at the bottom you want to push in quite firmly, and we're just going to stick these on the styrofoam ball that we did before. So just a little bit of water to stick them all together, fold it in half, have a play around with the petals, and then chop off the bottom, because the bottom needs to be flat, because this is what we're going to use to stick to the styrofoam ball. So you should be able to put these all on the styrofoam ball at the same time. I'm just breaking off to show you where it's actually going to sit. So once you've thinned all the edges on all of your petals, you're going to repeat this process. Now obviously I've gone for a bit of an ombre look, so the larger of the 2 petals is the lighter colour, and the smaller petals are going to be the darker colour, and you want to stick 2 of those together and fold in half. So you can see it's just a tiny little bit of water. You can kind of see a little bit of the colour difference there, and then fold it in half. You can push the petals into position, and then when you put them on all in all, you can have a final play around with them before you leave them to dry. Now, I always squeeze the bottom bit because when you try to put them all together, it can look a bit off. They need to be quite firmly pushed together at the bottom so that they squeeze together really well, and you can actually see through to the styrofoam ball at the bottom. It's quite a lightweight flower as well, because obviously the bulk of it is made from the styrofoam ball, and there really isn't that much flower paste that we're using to create this effect either. So once you've trimmed off the edges, again you want to wet the styrofoam ball and then even wet the sides of each of the flowers so that they actually do stick together. So you can see there, I'm just using a bit of water and pushing it in. And trying to fit them in. They are still quite flexible at this stage, so it should have plenty of time for you to push them into place and play around with them until you're happy with the position. Using the modelling tool if you wanted to pull out some of the petals. And I'm just literally turning it around and just pushing it into place until I'm happy. Now, the remaining of the modelling paste that's left over from what we've cut off, we're going to roll out and then cut out some more leaves. So this time we're going to do 8, and this is just going to fit around the leaves, the petals that we've already done, and it's going to help with the effect of the quite a lot of ruffles. Now, I've chosen to do this layer after rather than before, with the rest of them, just so that I can push it into place where I want it rather than it all go in together. So again, we're going to thin out the edges the same way that we've done before, and we're then going to trim off the bottoms to make it flat, and we're going to wet these, and then we're going to try to place them around. So there's a little bit of water just going on the petal, and I've got my flower back, and I'm just wetting the sides and pulling out the flowers, and you can see me there, I'm just pushing that in, and then the next one over the top. Now I'm just using the brush and a little bit of water to push that into the places I can't necessarily get to, and you're just going to work your way around the flower creating this effect. And you can see it's given us an extension to the petals that we've already got, and it's frilling them out a little bit, getting them ready for when we put the outer layers on for the flower. Once you've worked your way around this layer of petals, we're then going to do the outer layer. So again, we're going to add some more white to the petal paste that we've already made, because we want it to get lighter as it gets around to the outside. Once you've pushed those petals into place, we're going to leave that flower to dry, and we're going to take some, like I said, the modelling paste and add some white. Now you want half and half, so half of the previous colour and then matching that same size in the white. And we're going to mix this together and again roll out quite thin. If you're using corn flour, you don't need too much on the board because it will stop it from sticking, even if it's just a small amount. So with this one, we're going to go up a size in the cutters, and we're going to cut out some outer petals. So I think I've done more than what I needed, just in case, because this was my first time making this flower, so I wasn't actually sure how many I would need. And again, we're just looking to thin the edges and frill them a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push this into place around the flower that we've already got. Again, just using a tiny little bit of water. And we're just going to stick the bottom part to the styrofoam ball because we want to hide this part of the flower, and just using a little bit of water to stick it onto the flower at the top. So you can see that I'm just literally wrapping this around and overlapping each petal as I go. and then using my fingers underneath just to push this in place. I'm using a tiny little bit of water where it's needed, just to stick the petals that I'm adding to the petal that we've already got. And then we're going to go up a size again, and we're going to use the same colour, and we're going to roll it out quite thinly, and we're going to cut some more to stick around. Now, again, this is my first time doing this flower. If I was to do it again, at this point I would add in some more white to this, just to give that little more effect of an ombre and it being a little bit darker in the middle. So I've done 7 of the larger size, and again we're just filling the edges like we did before, and then using a little bit of water to stick them around the flower. So again, you want to stick to the base, and also a little bit of water to stick to the petals that we've already got. Now each layer needs to come out slightly, because obviously you do want to be able to see it, and you're just using your hand that you've got the flower in just to push those petals into place. Now to leave this to dry, we're going to get some tin foil, and we're going to stick this in some tin foil and push the tin foil around the flower. Now you can curl some of the edges with this just around the tin foil and leave it overnight to dry. Now here's the cake that I decided to put this flower on. I used it as a statement piece for the cake. Hope you like this video. To see more of my tutorials, please click the links on the screen now. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future videos. Thanks for watching.